February 7th, Symmes Township Trustee meeting. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and stay standing for invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Dear God, please watch over our administration and our Public Works Department. Please watch over our first responders, fire and police. Please continue to watch over the residents and businesses of Symmes Township, as well as the armed forces protecting our interests around the world. God bless America. Amen.
Amen.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Beck.
Here.
Ms. Lees.
Here.
Mr. Bryant.
Here.
I move approval of the agenda.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Lees.
Aye.
Mr. Bryant.
Aye.
Mr. Beck.
Aye. I move approval of minutes, regular meeting minutes, January 3rd, 2023, and special meeting minutes, January 18th, 2023.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Bryant.
Aye.
Mr. Beck.
Aye.
Ms. Lees.
Aye.
Fiscal officers report.
Our checking account balance stands at $6,603,488.01. The HRA account, checking account balance, is at $9,915.49. Our meter investment account is at $8,259,554.76. Some of the major fund balances are general fund $2,763,998.40. Our park levy is at $449,471.76. The Rossi Park levy is at $295,246.67. Police levy, $723,710.25. Fire levy is at $554,524.11. Our road levy is $298,259.14. Safety services levy, $3,305,022.93. The AR pay fund, $1,222,607.36, and the TIF fund is at $2,932,504.76, for a total of $14,521,571.06. I attended the OTA meeting the past 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago, and one of the seminars I attended was establishment of special funds, such as a fund for setting aside funds on a regular basis for instance, a new administration building. So it was interesting, the different ways they explained that you can do that. So it's something we'll have to discuss along the way. It was a good meeting. Yeah. I found another fascinating segment at the Clout meeting on Jobs Ohio, which I was amazed at what that organization does and has accomplished in the past 10 years for the state of Ohio. And it's only good things as far as we're concerned. So that was good.
Mm-hmm. Great. Thank you for attending.
Yep.
Any discussion? I move approval of the fiscal officer's report.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Beck.
Aye.
Ms. Lees.
Aye.
Mr. Bryant.
Aye.
No presentations, no public hearings. I move approval of disbursements warrants number 82392 to 82544 and vouchers 1 to 57 totaling $1,017,806.97.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Beck?
Aye.
Ms. Lees?
Aye.
Mr. Bryan?
Aye.
Moving on to reports. Law Director.
Thank you, no report tonight.
Okay, thank you. Police.
I'm Lieutenant Barbara Stuckey, sitting in for Lieutenant Mike Tarr, and we have nothing to report except that the e-citation printers were purchased today. So that's the only thing that
That's for each of the cruisers?
is.
Thank you.
Good, thank you. Fire.
Thank you, Board. You have my written report in your packet, and I stand ready to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for Chief? Okay, thank you. Kim, anything from Public Works?
Not this time.
Okay. Committees? Other?
Nope.
Nope. All right. At this time, we will move into hearing from residents. If anyone would like to speak, please come to the podium, state your name and address. No?
Nope.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for coming.
That's right. Thanks for coming.
The correspondence would be attached to minutes, events, and meetings. We have a zoning commission meeting coming up Wednesday, February 15th at 7 p.m. at the Administration Building. President's Day holiday is Monday, February 20th, 2023. All buildings will be closed. The Finance Committee meeting will be held Wednesday, February 22nd, 2023 at 6 p.m. at the Safety Service Center. Board of Zoning Appeals, Monday, March 6th, 2023 at 7 p.m. at the Administration Building. And the regular trustees meeting, Tuesday, March 7th, 2023, 7 p.m. here at the Administration Building. No old business, so we move into new business. I make a motion to advertise for the mowing program 2023.
Second.
Discussion.
Is this the same, are they gonna mow exactly the same?
What
What
we
is-
would like to do, if it's okay with you guys, is to take 2 bids. So the first bid will be everything like we did before, and then the second bid will be that list that's attached to the legal ad. That basically just says that we're gonna mow Home of the Brave, Symmes Park, Rossi Park, and Mead.
So if we do a contract and we let them cut the grass, I mean, at some point, they don't need to be cutting every week.
I agree.
Okay, so
Agree.
like this year, I noticed that they were cutting every week almost till November. And so I think that we have to be more diligent about saying, no, you don't need to cut the grass.
Or we can just limit it to 26 cuts, and that would probably take care of that problem.
Well, we used to do that and then we extended it, right?
Right.
I like that. I think we should go back to that kind of
Okay,
mechanism.
that's fine with me.
Okay.
You want to do 26 cuts, and that way,
Yeah.
there's, I mean, after a certain
They
point, they're not
they
going to
can
be mowing.
space them out if it doesn't need cutting and so on, and they're still inside the 26, then we don't have to extend
Yeah,
that.
and then
Okay,
if we pass the 26, maybe our staff can step up to the plate or something.
okay, that's fine with me.
Or do you want a unit cost for a cutting, like a single cut? Or you could give us a price for 26 and then also give us a unit price for each additional cut past
Okay.
26.
When do we have to let the contract?
Okay.
We'll take bids
I
at the
understand.
end of this month, and then we'll approve it in March.
Okay.
Because
The reason why I ask is because what you're going out there for is you're fishing. You want to find out, to do the whole job, how much it would cost, and how much it would cost to do lesser of a job, and then we find out what our costs are to do the residual. Okay, so then, once we have those bids in hand, we can then pick what we want. Do we have to go back again to them, or just approve it? I mean, how is this written?
Just to approve it, we just pick what we want and then approve it.
Okay, but to Phil's point, à la carte, price per unit might be the way to go, and then you say, well, You bid 26 weeks, what if we only did 20? Or,
I think what they typically do is they give us a per unit price when they do it, if my
Okay.
memory serves. The last 4 times we've done it, they just say it's gonna cost $252 for this one cut,
right?
and then you add it up at the
Well,
bottom.
I know that's the way they bill us.
Yeah, that's the way they bid it too.
Okay, all right. Okay, as long as you get out of this ask for quotes, what we need to go forward. And then we have to make the decisions at the March meeting as to which ones we're going to accept and how we're going to distribute it, how we're going to split it up.
Yep.
Okay. Is anything in the works for fertilization and tree spraying?
Yes, so we
Okay.
talked about that, Bill and I had a discussion about that, and then he thinks that we can handle the granular application of fertilizer on the fields, but to let Team All Sports still handle the baseball fields.
Okay.
Because it needs a lot more attention than what they can give it,
Okay.
if that's okay with you guys.
And can we just get, I know I talked about this in the past, the Cincinnati Nature Center, how they do prairie lands.
Yeah, he's supposed to call them to
Yeah,
get them
and
to come
just get
out.
some ideas, if it's even worth it to us to do it, or, I mean, if it's too expensive, or if it's not worth doing. I just kind of like to see if there's something that we can do so we don't have so much grass to cut.
You'd like
Okay.
to find out also if there's some upfront costs for us to establish those areas,
Oh, I'm sure there will
you
be,
know?
yeah.
And then what the
Okay.
payback is over time of not having to mow it.
Okay,
Yeah.
I think we talked about areas off the top of our heads, is like that area behind the pond at Home of the Brave,
All right.
because we don't really do anything back there. No, there's no programming back
There's your
there.
dog park right there.
Is it-
Um,
Yeah.
We talked about an area in Symmes, like from the
Right.
maintenance building back to where the trail starts and kind of when you cross the creek and you go up the hill,
Okay.
that area in there.
I would put dog turf
And then
down.
there's some areas in Mead that we can
Okay.
do.
At our work session, you gave us maps of what our mowing was now. Would it be appropriate, or would it be easy to take those same maps and flag the areas you're talking about
Yeah.
for prairie grasslands and so on, so we can see how much of the volume we could reduce? Or
Okay.
if we find that it isn't enough, that would be enlightening also.
Okay.
And
can do
can we
that.
also have somebody, or can we get a sample of where we put the sunflowers this year, the soil, and see if the soil's the reason why our sunflowers aren't growing? And if it's not, maybe we do have to do a wildflowers there or
Yeah.
something.
That first 2 years was great, and then after that,
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah, so if we can see what's going on and why,
Okay.
okay. All right.
Back to the grass mowing. I don't want to get too far into the details, but do we have the authority to direct the grass cutters, so like in the spring when it's growing like crazy, they cut more frequently, and then in the heat of August, they cut less frequently? Or
I
do
think what
they
we typically
come
do
every
is-
week, no matter what?
They come once a week,
Mhm.
and then we can always fill in if we need to,
Okay.
is the way
For
we've
the
always
extra
done it in the
cuts.
past. Like sometimes Home of the Brave needs to be mowed twice
So
in a week versus just once.
can't we do like come August, every other week? I mean,
And I think, yes, to answer your
Okay.
question.
and then like October, like maybe every 3 weeks?
Well, that's why I said I think if we just originally just go to 26 cuts, it'll probably work itself out.
Okay.
Because it always has in the past. It's just when we add those extra 4, it just seems like,
Okay.
you're right, they did go to some areas that didn't need to be mowed just to get their 30 cuts in.
I would think that one of the questions we'd like to ask when we go out for bids is if we're asking them to bid on 26 weeks, and we find that we really want them to do 30 or something, we should ask them, will you maintain that price for an additional 4 cuts or 6 cuts or
Okay,
whatever?
and the bid docs, okay.
Yes.
Well, I think we should start cutting it after 26.
Well, we need it in our court so we can play the
Yeah,
game.
I know, I
We
get
need
it.
the information.
I get
Okay, good. Any other questions?
it. Will that sound more reasonable? Because you were talking about how much it was costing us last year? Okay.
Okay, do we need to vote on that?
Yes, please.
Okay, roll call, please.
Ms. Lees,
Aye.
Mr. Bryant,
Aye.
Mr. Beck.
Aye. I make a motion to advertise for hiring personnel in the service department.
Second.
Discussion.
Are we gonna add something to the parks, or is this just for service?
Nope, I have, the one position is the laborer, those are the two parks positions. And then one I have in there for the road department for if you have a CDL. So we can start with that. I'll put 2 ads out and then we'll just see what we get.
That's really to fill
And
the
then-
2 openings we have right now.
Right,
And then we're still working on the job description, is that right?
yeah, for the special
Yeah.
one.
For this park?
Yep,
Yes.
I'll have that at the next meeting.
Okay.
Do we want to advertise that this year, just to see who's out there?
Yeah, we can, I just haven't finished the job description yet, so that's
Okay.
why I'll bring it back
We're
at the
gonna
next
hire this year.
meeting.
Okay,
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
gonna hire this year.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I kind of think we should maybe leave service department open for a while and see if maybe we need a 4th person, or you know what I mean?
Okay.
I think it'd be interesting to see how many applicants and how many are qualified for the positions we post. And
Yeah,
if there are more qualified people, then we might be in Fat City,
Yeah.
okay?
And make sure when we do the salary, we're competitive, because I know I sent her some things from like
Well-
Delhi. Delhi was on the higher end, because I looked it up, like who was
Well,
looking for service department, and I think Delhi was, you talked about Sycamore, and,
yeah.
yeah, okay.
Good.
All right,
Okay, roll call on the motion to advertise for service department personnel.
Mr. Bryant,
aye.
Mr. Beck,
Aye.
Ms. Lees.
aye.
Make a motion to allow the township administrator to sign a new service agreement with Cintas for uniforms.
Second,
Discussion?
that's under state bid, and as a result, we don't have to go competitive, although Cintas has been very competitive in the past.
Right.
Good. We do this every year?
I think I think it's either a 2 or 3 year contract that we had before.
Okay,
Maybe at 2 years.
okay,
So.
all right. Roll call, please.
Mr. Beck,
Aye.
Ms. Lees.
Aye.
Mr. Bryant.
Aye.
Make a motion to authorize the administrator to sign an aggregation agreement with a supplier suggested by Energy Alliances at a rate not to exceed 7.5 cents per kilowatt hour for a term not to exceed 24 months, starting May of 2023.
Second.
Discussion.
Did you get your question answered?
I did. I
Okay.
I talked to Energy Alliances today because at first blush, right now I'm paying 6.49 cents per kilowatt hour. And I asked myself the question, why would I sign a 2-year contract starting in May of 2023 for 7.5 cents? Why would I do that? Well, it turns out that Duke only goes to auction twice a year, and the last auction they went to was about 11 cents a kilowatt hour. And we're projecting that what they're going to get in the June, I think May auction of 2023 is about 9 cents a kilowatt hour. So if we can get in at 7 and, what was that, 7.5 or less, and they told me right now they thought they could get less than 7.5. That's starting to look pretty good. So I asked why 2 years, and they said, well, depending on the length of the term, the price is set, and that's a reasonable place to go in. So I feel reasonably certain that that's a direction to go. This is not a commitment. It just allows, just passing this would just allow our administrator to negotiate with them on our behalf at a price at or below 7.5. And we'd have to get involved in that final decision, I think, if it was more than that.
Good. Thank you. Thanks for checking into that. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Lees.
Aye.
Mr. Bryant.
Aye.
Mr. Beck.
Aye. Next item, discussion concerning a date for the bicentennial celebration and a budget. Did you get any responses from the newsletter?
No.
None?
No.
Interesting.
So I think we have a meeting scheduled tomorrow
Yep.
with, I think, did we include Aught?
I don't know, I'll have to ask Luann if she did.
Okay, so we have a meeting to just start talking about it, then I guess we'll send it back out to the public and see what we're talking about. But I was kind of thinking like, maybe do actually like a fun festival with some music, but we don't know how expensive the bands, I mean, we got to do tiers but I was thinking leading like a week up to that, we would do like once a day, we would have something fun, like you go to Home of the Brave and the ice cream truck would be there, or we do a fishing contest, or we do a civil reenactment one day, or you know what I mean, just
Okay.
leading up to it. And so I know we have a meeting to start discussing how we want to.
The second part of your question there is date, when? Now, question I have in the back of my mind is there a historical date at which we hit 200 years? I mean, is it May 5th, or is it
I
August
wasn't able to-
22nd, or
All the only dates I was able to find was January.
is what?
January.
In January.
It was
Well,
like
that's not
January
fun.
20 I know, that's why I
Well,
was
we could do a
like,
6-month, like if it was January 10th, we could do June or July
Oh.
10th. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
That's what I
Okay.
was thinking, if you don't want to interfere with the Memorial Day event,
Right,
and then we've got household hazardous waste that we usually do the first Saturday in June, and then, of course, there's 4th of July a month later,
Okay.
and then you've got
okay,
Labor Day, and then you've got Fall Fest, so it's kind of like,
okay,
where do we put it?
Maybe
So-
end of
so-
July, beginning of August?
yeah, just
You could, but it's just gonna be hotter than blue blazes. That's the only bad part.
not anymore. August isn't as hot as it used to be when I was a kid. It seems like our weather's May, June is hottest part of the year now. But,
Yeah, well, I guess that's something we can talk
Yeah.
about.
yeah, but I think that's good to have your calendar of already standard events up there, so you could pick a spot. But there should be some logic as to what we pick, is all I'm suggesting.
Yeah, I like the idea of the summer,
Yeah.
and I like the idea of like a progressive celebration, moving around different spots in the township.
So do you wanna maybe
Well, those are
end of
ideas, and
July,
I would
early
think that,
August then?
Well, we don't
I'm
know.
open.
yet. We'll-
Those are
we'll
I-
talk- We'll talk about
I
that.
think all of
Okay.
those are great ideas, and I think that this committee or whatever is getting together and so on ought to talk about these and see if they can't put something together as to what their suggestions are, maybe on paper.
I
Well,
was
we were
thinking-
trying not to overlap with other events too.
Sure.
So I was thinking maybe a mural would be fun, but I thought it would, like a street mural would be fun.
Yeah.
Like between Home of the Brave and Symmes Park, just that little area would be fun to paint.
You mean,
Like they have the
Lebanon
crown.
Road.
Yeah, like a crown, I know it's so odd.
Talk to
Yeah.
Mr. Beck.
I know, but I know it, like they do at the city hall.
Yep.
I
Yeah.
thought that would be fun to do somewhere.
Mhm.
Kelly came up with the idea of right there.
Mhm.
I thought that would be fun.
Yeah,
We'd tie the parks together, make it, yeah.
and I liked our old, what do we call it, the Firecracker Festival?
Yeah.
You know, our summer festival, I always thought
Yeah.
that was fun.
Yeah, yeah, we'll have to definitely do a lot of advertising.
Yeah.
You get competition, you mean,
Yeah,
4th of July kind of?
yeah, with
Mm.
Loveland, maybe we'll need to make
Just
sure we don't have any.
Pick our own week.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you. Sounds good. Next item, I move approval of Resolution G 2023-16, resolution authorizing the Township Administrator to enter into a memorandum of agreement with Perry and Associates, IPA, the State Auditor, Keith Faber, and the Board of Township Trustees of Symmes Township to audit the records of the township for the audit period of 2021 through 2026.
Second.
Discussion.
This is the last 2 audits, I believe the state auditor did our audit, so they're gonna put us back out for an independent auditor, which is, they've picked as Perry and Associates.
Which costs more? Having the state do it, or the state taking a surcharge on somebody else doing it?
I don't know. We'll have to wait and see what Perry and Associates
Well,
tells
they,
us.
Perry and Associates has done 2 of ours that I know
Yeah.
of. So,
I don't remember what
it
the
seems
cost
to me
was.
like they charge their fees that you pass through the state to us to pay, and then the state puts a percentage on top of that and charges us.
They do that. Yep.
Okay.
Am I incorrect in a memory that Perry and Associates was quicker with the audit?
Oh, much quicker. They'll be gone in 2 weeks. I mean, they'll come in, scan everything, and then leave.
Yeah. That's a
And-
point to
and then
consider,
inundate
too.
you with questions.
It takes longer and costs more.
Yeah, okay,
So this is for
okay. We don't
7
really have
years?
much control over this, do we?
It's for three audit periods.
Yeah,
3 audit periods.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. All right.
6 years in there.
Yeah.
We really don't have a word in the water other than approve this and pay them, right? I mean, what if we said, no, we don't want to do this?
I don't know what happens. I don't think we get a choice. It's
That's-
their
that's my-
responsibility to
that's-
audit, and they're
That's
pushing
my point, I
that.
don't think we have a choice.
Yeah, and they're contracting that service out, so I don't think we have a choice.
Okay,
Okay.
But it's not a bad thing. I mean, they do a good job.
yeah.
I thought they were better than the last group.
The last group is the state group.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay,
All good? Roll call, please.
Mr. Bryant,
aye.
Mr. Beck,
Aye.
Ms. Lees.
Aye.
I move approval of Resolution G 2023-17, resolution authorizing the Township Administrator to purchase Forever Lawn, Turf, and Rubber Surfacing from Pentura LLC for 7 Gables Park in the amount of $144,395.
Second.
Discussion.
Do we know when everything's gonna be installed? Do we have like,
The ship date is April 4th, so it should be here the week of the 10th. And then hopefully they'll be here earlier than that to start prepping the site and get it ready, but I don't know, I'm hoping by Memorial Day weekend.
oh, it's gonna take that long?
Well, the
Then-
last time they put the lemming playground in, it took like 3 months for them to install the thing.
Okay.
Really?
And then
Yeah.
this
Jeez Louise.
turf and rubber surfacing doesn't go down until all that's done?
Right,
Okay,
but we have to order it like a couple months ahead. So we order it now in anticipation that it'll be done by April, or ready by April.
I'm sorry.
That would be late for our snow. Goes in second. Huh.
Well, you gotta put the base material in, I think, first before you cover it up with foam padding and so on, right?
Okay.
Wouldn't that go in last fill?
I assume it's some kind of a layered system.
Okay. Yeah, it'd be interesting to know if it's in conjunction with or one leads and lags.
It's when-
Do they come in and put in all the equipment and then we put this in, or do they intersperse it while they're working on?
I would think that they would come in and put the equipment in first and then put the turf.
That's what my thinking was, but I've been known to be wrong.
No, it makes more sense because you're gonna have to have equipment
Yeah.
to put the playground because of the posts, and you're gonna have to drive the posts in the ground, and you're
Right.
gonna have to have
For
probably a
all that.
skid steer and a
Yeah.
track hoe and all that kind of stuff, and you don't want to be running over top of the surface
Okay.
that you're about to put down.
Okay,
Yeah.
so to Jody's point, if we didn't get that till Memorial Day, the equipment installed, then we're talking sometime after that for it being in use.
It could be.
Okay, well, can we push them? Because remember when I sat in that meeting with the salesman? He promised that I'd have it in the spring.
I know, but remember how they did that to us for the lemming playground? They
Well-
promised that we would have it before Fall Fest, and they didn't meet their promise.
Can we like kindly remind them that
Yeah.
they
We
promised?
put a penalty clause in there.
They
We've already,
promised.
Well, I'm sure
we've
it's-
already let the contract,
I
right?
would love to
I'm sure it's all weather related.
I'd love to have the opening in May.
Yeah,
Opening
Bill says
celebration.
the playground services installed last. You must be watching.
Hi, Bill.
Okay.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Mr. Beck,
Aye.
Ms. Lees,
Aye.
Mr. Bryant.
Aye.
That'd be good for you.
I move approval of Resolution G 2023-18, resolution authorizing the township administrator to purchase a new vehicle for administration in the amount not to exceed $50,000. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion.
Well, I'd asked Kim this afternoon, not having read the staff report, I wanted to know if we're doing a trade-in that would bring the price down, but she says no, they want to keep the existing vehicle with 140,000 miles
Yeah, it's
on
got
it?
140,000, but if
Okay.
you want me to trade it in, we will. I was just trying to save people's wear and tear on their own private vehicles, and that we could have that as an extra. And it's nice to have that to haul things with.
Yeah.
Well, I don't understand why we need another large-size SUV, especially because they're putting a lot of miles on it. I'd like either a small SUV or a sedan.
Well, actually, they're putting about 20,000 miles a year on it because it sat for 2 years.
Yeah, if you look at those big sheets that I provided, I gave you different options, so you can tell me what you want me to do. There's smaller SUVs on there. The best mileage is gonna be the Explorer.
Well, do we know what it's worth if we were to trade? I mean, maybe somebody doesn't give you anything for trade-in. We don't even know what a
I
trade-in
mean, I can
value
ask,
is.
it doesn't matter to me.
So the question on the table first is, are we willing to spend $50,000 for a new vehicle for you, which I think is reasonable. I personally do.
Yeah, they're all about the same price, like
Yep.
I mean, I looked at all the different websites, all the different vehicles, even the state bid prices, they're all about the same.
And then I think hypothetically, we could deal with, do we keep it, do we sell it, what do we get for it? Those kinds of questions can lag. We can answer those downstream of this resolution.
Yeah, you can always sell it.
Hmm?
You can always sell it.
I would think.
Yeah.
There for a while, used vehicles were at a premium. Now, I think it's turning the other way, so who knows?
So
Depends on where you are.
if we keep the old Explorer, could we go to like a car, like a four-door car?
I would prefer not to drive a car. It's just handy having the bigger car. If you have to haul things and if you have to haul people, it's just easier to have a bigger car.
Are we
It's not that
hauling
much difference in
people and
gas
things?
mileage.
We're not hauling.
You'd be surprised.
Well, obviously, if we only had one vehicle, I'd be much in favor of the Explorer replacement or SUV type. So that you can have that option of using it in ways.
Yeah, but we're
But-
keeping the Explorer.
Well, I mean, if you don't want to, you don't have to, but if we're gonna replace it, I'd
Yeah.
rather have a bigger vehicle. It's just handier.
Okay. Your preference would be to replace it with like another Explorer?
Yeah.
What are you
it's-
really looking at?
It's got the better gas mileage by far.
Okay.
And plus, it's gonna be more fuel efficient. I mean, right now, it's getting about 15 to 16 miles to the gallon, and with the new efficiencies, it goes up to like 26. So it's pretty fuel efficient.
Okay.
Are we ever going to convert to electric?
The only electric vehicle on the whole state bid list,
You know
Thank you.
that.
County is.
Yeah,
The county is.
I think
the only
everybody
one they
should.
have
Yeah.
is the Ford Escape.
And we're gonna have
And that's like a tiny
lines
little
up
fiber
at the
box.
charging station instead of at the gas pump.
Yeah, and I
Because we
don't
don't have
any,
enough infrastructure to support
I mean, you would have to install an electric charging station out back here.
Are you woke?
We have them in the county garages. It's actually, the setup, it was bid out, so publicly advertised, and I don't remember the name of the company off the top of my head. I think it's Electrata, I think is the name of the company. They come in, they do all the install, they pay for all the infrastructure, all the connections, and then they charge per the charging station. But it's in a public environment.
And then when you have a brownout, you can't charge your vehicles.
When have we ever had a brownout?
Hmm?
This is Symmes Township.
Yeah. And if the sun don't
I don't care
shine,
what you're talking about. Until the grid's more secure than it is now,
Never
I
lost
wouldn't
power.
want my money there.
I've
Well,
never
I
lost power at my house.
honestly think.
Get a
that-
hybrid.
I mean, people who have electric cars have not, like, I have a friend that has an electric car. She's never had any problems. So I don't know if necessarily saying that it's, that electric cars aren't, I mean, she's had it for
Just asking.
years, and it's always been very efficient for her. I just want to make sure if we're buying a car, a new car, I just want to make sure it's, because there's been a lot of miles put on it, that it's fuel efficient. I don't know if a large size SUV is fuel efficient. That's the only thing. I don't,
It's more fuel efficient than the smaller SUVs.
like my SUV out there?
Yours, that's, I didn't look at the Trailblazer because that's not
Yeah.
on the state bid. But if you look at the numbers that I provided there, you can see down, like what the Blazer is, what the Explorer, what a truck is. I mean, it's a lot more, it's the most fuel efficient out of all of them.
Out of all the SUVs?
Yeah.
And you have to buy something off state bid, so these are our only choices, the Explorer, the
You
Blazer.
don't have to. You can get different bids for different cars if you stay under 50,000. But once you go over 50,000, that's where you have to stay on the state bid list.
And do these come from a Symmes Township dealership?
We don't, right now, we don't have a Symmes Township dealership that has American cars.
We have a dealership who is expanding in Symmes Township.
But they're not here yet.
Yeah. But they own property.
Have we contacted them to see if they'd give us?
Yeah, they've got tons of vehicles on their website.
I mean, do they go through the state pricing?
I just don't know if they'll give us state pricing.
I talked to that gentleman once upon a time saying that we are now doing this on state bid.
Okay.
Once you're in the township, can you match those bids and so on? And they assured me that the answer was yes.
Okay.
That was just in passing conversation, but,
I mean, I can always ask.
okay. Well, I think the question on the table right now is, are we going to approve township administrator to purchase new vehicle? We didn't say what kind or what, for an amount not to exceed $50,000. I think we ought to vote on it.
Well, I don't know.
And then take it to the
I
next
just
step.
want to make sure that we're being as fuel efficient as we can.
Okay.
You know,
I
that's
think
my
she's
thing.
trying to
Like, we're
accommodate
doing
you in that
gas.
regard by doing the research.
I did all the research. There it is, all in front of you, all the vehicles, all the fuel
Wow.
prices, everything that we spend on fuel, it's all right there.
Well, for SUVs versus
Yes.
trucks versus,
No, it's every fuel cost in our township is on that sheet.
okay.
So it's all our big dump trucks, all our trucks. My Explorer, you can see my Explorer does not cost an exorbitant amount of money versus what Bill drives versus what those big trucks are.
Right.
It's pretty fuel efficient, especially like the big dump trucks, they only get like 6 miles to the gallon. So, I mean, my car's way more fuel efficient than theirs.
But aren't they just driving them around on Symmes Township roads?
But you look at the fuel costs, they're spending a lot more money in fuel than I am.
Well,
maybe we
if it's diesel, you know they are.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean.
All right. Well, we put you off 2 years, I think, on the replacement car.
Yeah, I mean, we budgeted for it.
So we have a motion pertaining to a resolution, like Ken said, for a new vehicle not to exceed 50,000. And then I guess we can work through the details. Okay, any other discussion? Roll call, please.
But I want to make sure, this is clarifying, we still get a say on the car, right? Or no? Once we pass this, that we don't have a say in
Well,
anything?
she has
Is that what
she
we're-
has authorization I guess, to replace it, right?
Yeah, so it's either gonna be from McCluskey or it's gonna be from King's, one of the two.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see
Okay.
what Keith McCluskey has to say.
We could table it and have her come back with additional information, but
I just want to make sure that it's fuel efficient, that's all.
I gave you all the fuel miles, or the fuel things right there, that's all to the left-hand side, it shows all the mileages, all the fuel
is
efficiency.
Chevy versus, Ford Explorer versus Chevy what?
If I had to buy a Chevy, it's either gonna be a Traverse or a Blazer, but the Blazer's smaller than the
Yeah,
Explorer, but it's less fuel efficient.
and it's every bit as expensive.
Yeah, it's the same, they're all about the same price.
Okay. Okay, so it would be smaller, but less
Yeah.
fuel efficient.
Less fuel efficient,
Okay,
yeah.
all right.
And the Traverse is about the same size as the Explorer, about the same fuel miles, or fuel,
Higher than the replacement Ford, right?
what does that sheet say? So the Explorer gets 22 and 26, the Blazer gets 19 and 26, the Tahoe gets 15 and 20, the Silverado gets 18 and 21, the Traverse gets 17 and 25, and then I have an Expedition and a Malibu on there.
And then the Malibu.
Okay.
So here's the cost of cars sitting on the lot, and then if you order something off state bid, it takes a year now to come in. So you can't get it till 2024.
So that's a disadvantage.
Yes.
Question about after we buy a vehicle on the state bid, do we go to a particular place for maintenance?
No, you go to any
Anyway.
dealership, yeah.
So maybe McCluskey could work that into the deal, because we would presumably take it to them for maintenance.
Probably.
Yeah,
If it's a Chevy that we buy, yeah,
right.
right. Yeah. If it's a Ford, I would just take it to King's Ford, or we've been having good luck in Milford with Mike Castrucci,
Okay,
so.
okay. All right. Any more discussion? Let's vote, please.
Ms. Lees?
I guess I'll go with I.
I didn't hear that.
I.
Mr. Bryant?
Aye.
Mr. Beck?
Aye. I move approval of Resolution G 2023-19, resolution approving expenditures in the amount not to exceed $15,000 for newsletter expenses and dispensing with the second reading.
Second.
Discussion?
This is for 2 newsletters, and the costs have gone up, postage and everything else, right?
Yep.
Okay, so it's gone up about 2,000 from last year.
Yeah, the vendor that we used to use is no longer, like they moved, they're no longer in the Cincinnati area, so that we had to switch vendors last year.
And what's the target to send them out?
Spring, and then we do one in the fall.
Yeah, do you know when in the spring?
Spring is probably, we have a meeting next week.
You'll have to go out
gotta
middle
go-
of March because the Easter egg hunt
Oh,
will
Right,
be
we
like
gotta
the
get
first in
Easter
April.
egg stuff in that one.
Yep,
And we have to get Santa Claus and whatever. and
Right,
Fall
in the
Fest.
fall.
For Fest.
For Fall Fest.
So
yep,
that really sets the timing.
yeah.
Okay. All right, roll call?
Mr. Bryant?
Aye.
Mr. Beck?
Aye.
Ms. Lees?
Aye.
I move approval Resolution G 2023-20. Resolution authorizing the Township Administrator to purchase salt and other de-icing materials for the road department from Morton and other vendors in the amount not to exceed $70,000.
Second?
Discussion? Is this state pricing, or are we going with?
We
City
go
of
with Cincinnati.
City of Cincinnati.
Yep.
All right.
Good.
Okay, all of it?
Yep.
We were parceling it wherever we could get the best deals.
Cincinnati has the best deal.
Okay.
All right.
It's like $75 a ton.
So the amount is fixed and the quantity that you get, it's determined.
Right, and then we don't have to take what we think we're gonna take. Like, we can vary it.
Okay.
So we order what we need, and we're not required to take all of it.
Okay.
Okay.
Do we know usage-wise this year? We're about, I guess we're below average on snowfall and so on, although we've had some icing conditions. Are we running ahead or behind what our projection was? Are we using it faster than what we thought, or a little slower?
No, slower than we thought.
Okay. Okay. I'm sorry I interrupted. Did I interrupt the roll call there?
No.
Okay.
Just waiting for discussion.
Okay.
Okay. Good to go? Roll call, please.
Mr. Beck,
Aye.
Ms. Lees,
Aye.
Mr. Bryan.
Aye.
I move approval Resolution G 2023-21, resolution certifying the township highway mileage for 2022.
Second?
This stayed the same from last year?
Yes, it
Okay.
did not change.
Okay. All right. Discussion? No? Roll call, please.
Ms. Lees,
Aye.
Mr. Bryan,
Aye.
Mr. Beck.
Aye. Move approval Resolution 2023-22, resolution approving a community reinvestment area incentive for McCluskey Chevrolet, Inc., and Online.Cars LLC, and Next Gen Automotive for LLC.
Second.
Discussion.
This is the community reinvestment area application from McCluskey Chevrolet. So in the previous year, they got zoning commission approval and your all's approval for a zone change to build their new dealership at where the old JCPenney is, and then that strip center. But I don't know why they didn't proceed last year, but anyway, they're here tonight to get our approval on the CRA, which would move on then to the county commissioners for final approval.
I thought we were getting to the point where we didn't have to go through the county commissioners.
I thought that too.
Well, the law changed, but,
You want-
yeah, you can,
So-
you can give us a synopsis.
Yeah, I mean, I guess without getting too much in the weeds, as we've known, with the old law, or really the existing law up until, April, that it goes into effect, townships didn't have the authority to create their own CRAs. You had to do it through the county. When this new law goes into effect in April, townships will have the authority to create their own CRAs, but you cannot create a new CRA in an area that's already a county CRA.
So we have to play in the sandbox.
Didn't we set up 3 areas once upon a time?
Yeah, Montgomery Road, Fields, Erdel, and Loma Medina.
Okay. that's
So
what I thought.
those existing ones will remain, they will keep working the way they've always worked.
Through the county?
Through the county.
Okay.
But it does give townships now the authority to create new areas.
Okay.
Just can't be the same area that's already part of the
So
CRA.
that's cast in concrete then, the boundaries of those districts. I'm not trying to put you on, I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
No, I know what you mean. I mean, no, I would say, my understanding of even under the new law is that if you expanded the boundary of an existing CRA, it would still work as if it were a county.
Yeah.
Because that's, just think of it like, those are county CRAs, and they will continue to operate like county CRAs.
Even if all of the incentives have gone away? I mean, you know, it's for
Yeah,
a
any
it's for
of
a
the
fixed
existing
term, and
ones.
if you're outside that fixed term, to me, it's gone away, so.
Well, only for the one, but the boundaries of the CRA don't go away, because other businesses
Okay.
in the CRA could still take advantage of being in an existing CRA.
So we
So if we only have, as of today, we only have one active CRA, one active participant.
Really?
Because all the others have
Expired?
expired.
Yeah.
All
So-
Without Kids is
App-
expired?
Mhm.
Okay.
I think it's Hoarder
Yeah,
is
Hoarder's
the
the
Porter's
only
the only
active.
one? Okay.
So, could we, since we don't have any participants in the other
Could we
areas, could we
redefine
just
areas?
delete them?
I don't know, and the new law is not clear about that, but what the new law is clear about is that the township cannot create a CRA that covers the same area that's already in an existing CRA.
Okay.
Yeah, so can we delete the existing
But-
CRAs?
Yes, let's try and do that.
Well, we can look into that, but what I'm saying is, when you create a
try.
CRA, it's a geographic boundary, and it doesn't only live for the life of like if there's say one active incentive project in it.
Okay.
When that project is over, when that incentive is over, it doesn't mean the CRA area goes away. The point is, you've established through the county a boundary, an area where you've determined that it would be beneficial to have community reinvestment.
Okay.
Sure. So we
So the boundary
created
remains.
those, we created those to provide a benefit, and now that they've run their course, we ought to be able
Well,
to
I think the argument would be, they may have run their course for the one, for the business that was utilizing it, but it's still there and available for other property in the district, within the boundaries. We can look about the possibility of dissolving existing areas. I don't know that I've ever, I have,
Well, we'd open ourselves up for all kinds of legal questions if we were to go back and create one that infringed upon an area that had been in
You
the
might.
prior one,
You
I
might.
think.
Why?
Yeah.
I don't see why.
That's a good question.
I mean, if we
Once it's
created
over,
them,
it's
we ought to be
over.
able to dissolve them, and then we can recreate them if we want to,
I
in a different
think it'd be
way.
in our best interest to try and find that out.
yeah,
but-
we can look at
but
that.
I
I
don't-
can tell you that usual questions related to CRA's boundaries, boundary changes,
Right.
are how to expand the boundaries. I've never had to look at
Okay.
dissolving an existing one, but we can check it
I
out.
can see that,
Yeah,
but with different rules now than what there were then.
yeah, oh, there will be in April, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can check it out.
Okay, thank you. So in this particular instance, I think part of the McCluskey project's, part of what they're working through is the strip shopping center, and the fact that when they presented the original plan, they intended for all those tenants to be relocated, and that would be raised. But as of today, there are still tenants there. So I
Right.
think they're rethinking their plan and going to do a partial site work, and then kind of like a phase one and a phase two, I think is the idea. But
Has
they-
construction costs come down? Because I know that's probably the reason why they didn't do it last year.
that's
Well,
true.
building materials too.
Is it
They-
come down now?
It's
Raw
come down a
materials
little
are
bit.
coming down,
Okay,
Yes.
Mhm.
okay.
yes. And procurement is getting a lot better than it was. But they can't break ground until this is approved. That's the catch.
Yeah.
So. Okay,
Okay, but their scores and everything else put them in a certain category for 50%, 10 years?
10 years,
Okay.
right, 50%.
Okay. And that wouldn't change anyway, right?
Unless the county commissioners change it.
Or if it was ours to set.
Right.
Okay.
So if the county commissioners come back and change it, could we just, like, sit on it and then we
What?
do it in April?
No, I think it'll go through right now is 6,
Right.
what, 50%, 10 years. I think we're all on the same
Yeah, but
page
if the
there.
commissioners would change it.
Yeah, that's the risk.
I think
That's the
that, I
risk.
think where the heartburn has been is with the, when you create the residential ones. So,
Okay.
because the other townships have had issues trying to get theirs approved at the county level because of the residential component to it.
Okay.
And they're less likely to get approved.
Does a certain percentage have to be residential in an area?
I don't think it's a percentage, they want certain, they don't want their money taken from the county, so if it's like going to be a certain amount, they want the township to pay pay the county the money.
Okay.
So they want to be made whole, and they want a whole fair housing component to it.
Okay. All right.
But I shared a list like a couple months ago, I can reshare it, but it's like this whole list that they came up with that they don't, they gave it to the townships and we gave them our feedback and then they didn't change any of it, so they just kept it the same. And
But in April, we won't have to go to them. If it's not,
No?
he's gonna have to see if we can delete existing ones and create new ones, but what he just said is that you can't.
Well, that takes
You
time to
can't.
do that, doesn't it?
Yeah, it would take time.
Sure.
but-
So then that's
I
the
don't-
next
I don't-
question.
Well, I'll back up and I'll say, when it comes to, again, I don't know if you even can dissolve a CRA, but the CRA, the CRAs that we're talking about were created by the county. So the county would, if anyone can dissolve the CRAs, it would be the county. They created it, so if they want to dissolve it, it would be a,
so we would
county
have to
decision.
petition them to dissolve it.
if it's even a possible thing, which we will find out.
Okay.
Even as a home rule township.
You didn't have the authority to create those CRAs. They
Right.
had to be created by the county.
Yeah.
And even if the law changes in April, that gives you the authority to create your own CRAs, it doesn't give you the authority to dissolve ones that were created by another governmental entity.
The law change that you're referring to in April is really ORC?
Yes.
Okay.
It was
Okay.
adopted under their omnibus bill, right? There was 5 things that
no.
were included in their omnibus bill.
No, actually,
I thought that was one of them.
this was Senate Bill 33, I think.
Oh,
It did other things. It was not part of the omnibus bill, but it had to do with CRAs. It had to do with like 529 plans, and there were other elements to it beyond just CRA.
Okay.
But there were no challenges to it. It passed. It was signed by the governor. They're just waiting for the effective date of, I think it's April 2nd or something, that it becomes effective.
Okay?
If we were to pass this resolution right now, as stated, what happens? I
We
mean,
pass
you-
our resolution on.
No, I
to
mean,
the-
is McCluskey going to break ground, or is it going to be phase 1, phase 2?
Has to get approved by the commissioners.
Okay.
Yeah.
And once, because it still requires their signature and so on and so forth, let's say they approve it, then what's the next step? McCluskey breaks ground and they do phase 1 and phase 2, or what? Do we
Well,
know?
McCluskey still has to get their final development plan approved first.
Okay, yeah,
But they have to get this CRA in place first.
okay. All right.
Then the
So-
county
so
commissioner,
this-
then they have to get their final development plan
Okay,
approved.
to sign off on the CRA by this board then is really holding them up, the bottom line.
Yeah, so we,
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
right.
Roll call.
Mr. Bryant,
Aye.
Mr. Beck,
Aye.
Ms. Lees.
Aye.
I move approval for Resolution G 2023-23, resolution authorizing the township fiscal officer to deposit $19,000 with the Hamilton County Courts to acquire property located near Kugler Mill Road, commonly referred to as Memorial Park.
Second.
Discussion.
Yeah.
So have we,
Let-
go ahead.
I was going to say, if we went ahead and did this, which is up for grabs right now, do we take title to the property as soon as we do this, or what's the?
Not as soon as we do. We would file the complaint in common pleas court.
Okay,
We would have to, typically what you do when you file a complaint is then the court, the clerk's office will serve the complaint on the defendants, on the property owners that you name. We know in this case, though, if they try to mail that certified mail like they typically do, half of the defendants we're identifying don't exist anymore. So then they'll have to publish it in a newspaper and for however long they have to. Once nobody files an answer, then we would generally move for a default judgment that says, we've made our case, nobody filed an answer. Now we would ask the court for an entry conveying title to the
okay.
township.
And once we get that, then we can go ahead and do what we want to do, working with the county for road relocation and park and development or whatever.
Once the court does the entry, they send it over to the auditor's office. The auditor will make the changes on the title. And then you'll be the owner of that property and you can do with it what you would with, yeah, I mean, you could work with the
Okay.
county, whatever it is. You would be the owner of the property
Okay.
at that point.
All right, I'm thinking downstream, because nobody comes and claims as the owner. So the money sits basically in escrow.
Yeah, so what we found, so that question came up at the last meeting. What we
Right.
found is that generally what would happen is it would sit there probably for a maximum of 3 years, because if no one claims it after 3 years, it gets sent to the unclaimed funds
Okay,
Department of the State.
okay. So I think that's
You
new-
won't get it.
I think that's new input, because.
Yes, we didn't know what happened. I just wasn't familiar with what could happen. I've never had an
So
instance
we
where
could
that.
put a cap on having to pay fees for this maintenance, if you will, through the courts. The
Yeah,
maximum of 3 years.
Our understanding is that after 3 years, it would become unclaimed funds and
Okay.
go away from
But
out of the court.
in the interim, in the 3 years until that deadline passes or whatever, we would have to compensate the courts for whatever they were doing in maintenance of this project? Poor phrasing, but,
Yes, I mean, I think in
Okay.
short, what you're asking is when we deposit that money with the court, they hold it. And what they do is they typically hold it until one of the owners comes forward and to claim it. In this case, we don't know that any owner, we don't know no one knows who the owners are. So I don't think anyone will come forward to claim it.
Okay.
And as long as it sits there, yes, the court charges a fee. Think of it almost like interest to hold that money. And we would get a notice periodically that says, from the court, that says it's time to pay
okay.
that.
And if we didn't pay that, then the clock wouldn't stop at 3 years, right?
Oh, I don't know about that. If we didn't pay it, you'd be held in contempt by the court
Okay.
for not paying the
Thank you,
appropriate
you
fees.
answered my question. I wanted to know what our liability was.
Right.
And we never get any part of the 19,000 back,
No,
Never will anyway.
never.
But we'll get the land.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I think you've answered my question. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Roll
Jody,
call.
you had a question, and I.
We kind of,
Mr. Beck,
Aye.
Ms. Lees,
aye.
Mr. Bryan.
Aye.
I move approval of Resolution G 2023-24, resolution authorizing the township administrator to enter into an agreement with Team All Sports to regrade existing ball fields at Home of the Brave Park in the amount of $18,124.20.
Second.
Discussion.
Why are we regrading? You had a conversation with Bill about it.
Not about why are we regrading, but we graded it, I think in 2018. Is that what your staff report
Yes, that's
said?
what my records show.
Okay, and my concern when I talked with Kim about it this afternoon is regrading implies the whole field to me. And she says, no, we're only talking infield. So then my question was to Kim and hence to Bill, well, gee, we know we have problems with the warning track, erosion and so on, with all the gravel running under the fence when we have water runoff and so on. So is there any regrading there? So I subsequently talked with Bill about that, and they're working on that internally. So this only covers regrading the infield of 3 fields at Coleman Bray Park.
So why, it didn't say why. Why are we
Well,
doing
in
it?
2018, when we did this, and by the way, I'm not taking sides and I'm just conveying information. We put down a special soil and so on and so forth that's conducive to baseball and sliding and all this kind of stuff. And it wears out after
Oh,
a
so
period
this
of
is
time.
just maintenance.
And you slide into it, you dig holes and so on. And I said, well, if you really had a good maintenance crew out there with their rakes and so on, they take care of this on a almost daily basis. And I said, no, it's the kind of thing that has to. Bill actually told me that sports teams, and he didn't qualify whether they were local amateur level or whether they were semi-pro or pro, recommends this be done every 2 years, and it's been like 4 for us to do it. So, I don't know, I think it's a lot of money just to regrade the infield to 3 ball fields. And it begged the question for me,
Did we get
Kim,
bids?
I'm sorry, it begged the question for me is, we are charging leagues and so on to play on these fields, and is this included in trying to recoup some of the costs? And Bill and our discussion was that he thinks that we should have 2 tiers, rec and trailing or select teams. There's a lot more money in the select teams, and they tear these things up more, and maybe they should be paying higher fees to use the fields than what the Symmes Township local area recreational league should be paying. It's just a thought for down the road.
Yeah,
Okay.
that would be true for soccer too, probably.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. This is wear and tear maintenance, no different than paying for the electric bill for the lights.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but I guess the only clarification I want to make is that this is for 3 fields, 3, 4, and 5, or whatever they are.
6, 7, and 8.
6, 7, and 8, and it's only the infields that regraded and special soil will be put back down.
And did we bid this out, or is this just who we normally deal with?
This is who does all our sports stuff, is T-ball sports. They have the expertise in it.
Okay.
Okay.
Any further discussion?
Well, I guess I'm going to throw my 2 cents worth out there that I don't mind paying this if we have a hope of
Recouping.
amortizing those costs downstream of this by changing the fees and so on to recoup. You'll always be behind, which we have been before we instituted fees, but I think we ought to think about what we're doing going forward.
Okay.
Agreed. Okay, roll call.
Mr. Bryant,
Aye.
Mr. Beck,
Aye.
Ms. Lees.
Aye.
I move approval of Resolution G 2023-25, resolution authorizing the Township Administrator to enter into an agreement with Bushelman Supply Company to replace the salt bin door on Union Cemetery Road for the Service Department in the amount of $21,355.86.
Second.
Discussion.
We had put this in the budget too from last year. This is to replace the salt bin door in the back here with the dome. We have a hard time opening it, and they've had it, I guess, maintained or repairs done on it. It just needs to be replaced.
Okay. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Ms. Lees.
Aye.
Mr. Bryant,
Aye.
Mr. Beck.
Aye. I move approval of Resolution G 2023-26, resolution authorizing the Township Administrator to purchase a dump truck bed for Truck 205 for the Road Department from Rush Truck in the amount not to exceed $120,000.
Second.
Discussion?
This is a piece of the complete package for that truck. We bought the chassis. It won't be delivered, right? It has been delivered.
Still hasn't even been made, I don't think.
And this is the bid for it. And
Right.
there's probably some other expenses that are gonna come.
Right.
But we budgeted for it, and it's a big chunk of change, over 3 or 4 pieces come into it, so.
Yes, and this does include the trade-in too. So
Okay.
we'll get money back out of the car that or the truck that we're gonna trade in. Usually we get 15 to 20,000 in a trade-in.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Beck?
Aye.
Ms. Lees?
Aye.
Mr. Bryant?
Aye.
I move approval of Resolution G 2023-27, resolution amending Resolution G 2021-66 and G 2022-45, authorizing the Township Administrator to sign an amended agreement with LJB Inc. for the design engineering services for the parapet and vandal fence for Snyder Road and Hopewell Road bridge replacement projects in the amount of $45,000.
Second.
Discussion.
Just for clarification, the 45,000 is total. So it's an increase of $10,000 to complete the logo request that we had from last meeting.
Is this a not to exceed?
Yeah.
Not to exceed, okay.
Well, doesn't say NTE, but we can put that in there.
This is just for the design?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's for the design for both.
Design and the attachments.
Yeah, now we have to figure out how to attach the logos to their vandal fence. Before it was our decorative vandal fence, so this will be
Well-
the state's vandal fence, and we have to figure out how to.
So we're not
Let-
paying
let-
for the decorative fencing, which brings
So
the
we're
cost.
way down.
Yeah.
So can we rescope this for a second? This total cost of $45,000 is for evaluation for Symmes Township, then added to it to get Sycamore Township, and then Sycamore Township went away. And this is an additional for Symmes Township to be on both sides.
Right,
But we got $17,000 from Sycamore Township
right.
when they bowed out.
Yes, they did pay us for half of the
So
expenses
the
at
total
time.
out of our pocket isn't 45,000, it's
No.
17,000 less than that,
Right.
okay?
Okay. Thank you for clarifying. And we do seem to have the nod from ODOT for us to do this.
Yeah, we just have to fill out the permit, and then we have to get permission from Sycamore Township. So either they participate with us, or we have to have their permission to put our logo on their side of the bridge. So,
Which side of the...
it doesn't matter to me, I just, in
I mean,
my head, I was just thinking.
I'm laughing because the road that crosses is half Symmes and half Sycamore, I guess, right?
Right.
I can see where there's 2 distinct sides, okay.
It is,
I thought it
but-
was half of the bridge, and half of the bridge was Symmes, and the other half
No, it's that
was
way.
Sycamore, but no, it's
No,
one
it's
or
the
the other.
opposite direction.
Down the
but-
center
All
line.
right, well, that would be
But
interesting.
you could argue that you could put like our logo on the north side, like as you're going northbound because you're entering Symmes, and then put the Sycamore on the southbound side because you're entering Sycamore.
Which is-
But which is the opposite of really where the boundaries are, but you know what I'm saying.
Right.
It's all up to, whatever you guys want to do, I don't care, but.
Well, it's kind of interesting. What if Sycamore said no?
Then to give us permission?
Yeah.
I don't think they would say no. I think they would probably just decline not to pay the money to put their logo on the bridge.
You mean they want their, no, that was engineering costs, wasn't it? So they wouldn't get their 17K back.
No, I don't know if they would want to expend the funds to put their logo on the fence. But I don't think they would tell us no that we can't put our logo there.
My question is.
On their
if
side?
Yeah, I don't think they would care at that point, but that's just my opinion.
Okay, but my point or question really is that we were talking all engineering costs, and we were at $25K for Symmes Township, both sides.
Right.
Then Sycamore Township came in and they said, oh, it's gonna cost another 10, took us to 35, which Sycamore Township said they would split with us. Those funds are already expended, correct?
Yes, and we already received a check from Sycamore Township last
Okay.
year to pay us back.
Gotcha. So now, we're making another change perhaps because they dropped out, which is gonna cost us 10K, which I understand, it should be all ours, but there's no recourse for them to come back and get part or all of their 17 and a half back,
No, I don't think they
because
would-
it's already been expended in the engineering.
Right.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So this designs it, and then we would turn this over to, like you say, get the permit, and then we turn this over to ODOT, and they would have their contractor bid it, install it.
Yep. And then we'll
Okay.
just have to do a separate maintenance agreement for it too.
Right, right. Okay, good. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Lees,
Aye.
Mr. Bryant,
Aye.
Mr. Beck.
Aye. I move approval of Resolution G 2023-28, resolution approving an employment agreement with Kimberly A. LaPense as Township Administrator pursuant to ORC Section 505.031 and dispensing with the second reading.
Second.
Second.
Discussion?
I didn't know if you.
Is there anything different in this one versus the one we signed last year? Okay.
No, it's the same raise amount that everybody else got, all the other employees. That's the only thing that's different.
So you're going to work just as hard this year as you did last year?
I think you know the answer to that.
Kim, does this have to be retroactive?
If you approve it tonight, no.
Okay.
Then it just, the pay period began on Saturday.
Oh, okay,
So-
not until February then?
Yeah.
Not January?
Right.
Got it, okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
it's kind of weird how we did it. I think when you guys originally hired me, it was like January, in the middle of January, but I didn't start till February 6th.
Okay, so your anniversary date is what you're
Yeah.
saying? Yes, got it.
Mhm.
Okay.
All right. Roll call?
Mr. Bryant,
Aye.
Mr. Beck,
Aye.
Ms. Lees.
Aye.
Thank you, Kim. I move approval of the following expenditures and authorization for the Township Administrator to sign any necessary contracts or agreements or paperwork. A, expenditures then and now, $3,352.50 PCS camera replacement at Blong. B, expenditures, HRA reimbursement for Ken Bryant, $14.58 that occurred July 1st, 2022. And C, amend the following line items. First one, general, line item 1000-610-599-0000. Total of $29,800, which is an increase of $7,800. Second line, general, line item 2171-610-599-0000, total $15,500, which reflects an increase of $500. Line 3, safety service, line item 2196-220-430-0000, total $50,000, which is an increase of $9,000. Number 4, ARPA, line item 2272-760-750-0000, total $41,384.50, which reflects an increase of $41,384.50. Number 5, ARPA, line item 2272 730, 592, 0000. Total, $0, which it reflects a decrease of $838,725.67. Number 6, ARPA, line item 2272-760-730-0000. Total, $1,181,222.86, which is an increase of $1,181,222.86. Number 7, Park Land Acquisition, line item 4902-760-710-0000. Total, $19,000, which reflects an increase in $19,000. Number 8, Roads, line item 2193-330-323-0000. Total, $10,000, which reflects an increase of $10,000. Number 9, Motor Vehicle, line item 2011-760-740-0000. Total, $8,800, which reflects an increase of $8,800. Number 10, Parks, line item 2171-760-740-0000. Total, $8,800, which reflects an increase of $8,800. Number 11, Safety Service, line item 2196-220-360-0000. Total, $873,952, which reflects an increase of $3,000. And number 12, Parks, line item 2171-610-316-0000. Total, $8,350, which reflects an increase of $850. Yeah.
Second?
Discussion.
Does anybody have any questions?
Maintenance.
Yeah,
It's lots of different
I'm
things.
just looking at this as an overview for a second. There's 12 items here, okay? 6 of them are brand new, which I totally understand. If you never put any money aside for it, don't need to modify it. Or you're modifying it because it's a new entry. One of them, 7th one, the ARPA, which goes away from,
It's just moving one line item.
yeah, you're
to
moving
the
it one
next.
to the other, so I
Yeah.
understand that too. But there are 5 of them on here, 2 general, 1 safety service, 2 safety service in the parks, where we're increasing already, this is February, we're already increasing appropriations.
Yeah, under
Is-
the general fund, the 2 610s, 599s, those are both for special events because we increased the amount that we needed for special events and I forgot to do it in the previous budget. So
Okay,
that's why we have an increase there. The safety services, the 430, that is turnout gear
okay,
because I under budgeted for that. The ARPAs, we're just moving it around, so
Right.
that 41,000 is parks and the rest of that is the building, but we have to have it in that 760, 730 line item, it can't be any other line item.
okay,
Parkland acquisition, that's the park money that we just approved in previous
Right.
resolutions.
yeah, I'm not really questioning those, it's the last 2,
The last 2, safety services, it's 360 is contracted services, so I probably forgot the contracted service that we
Okay.
have, that I left off on my list. And as I was doing all the purchase orders, I realized, oops, I forgot that. So that was just a correction I had to make.
and I can see an $850 increase in parks and so on and so forth.
Yeah, that's
It just says we under
engineering.
budgeted and now we're correcting for it, but
Yeah, the
the message-
engineering is because of I don't know if I fumbled the numbers or what I did, but
Okay.
we had signed a contract last year with Choice One to do that survey for 7 Gables.
Okay.
So I was off $850.
Okay, but, just looking at this as an overview, and I say it's gee, it's February and we're already modifying.
No, I agree with you.
And should I expect a lot more of this? Because I expect this kind of
No.
thing at the end of the year where we're trying to balance the budget.
No, the reason is because like I said, when I was doing that list, remember that list I handed out last meeting?
Right.
Where, that is where I catch all my mistakes if I make any from the previous,
Okay.
like December, when I actually sit down and like do all the appropriations. Because then I can lay out like all the purchase orders that we're gonna need, and then I lay out all the blanket purchase orders, and then I can see like the gaps. And then I take all the expenses, like last year, we had a lot of expenses that carried over into this year.
Got it.
And so that's where I made my mistakes.
Okay.
is
All
Not
right.
carrying it.
I think that's a very good explanation
forward.
for what I was looking for. Because I just wanted to know if I should expect to see a bunch of these.
No, this
Let's
should
catch
be,
up because we
this should be in
underestimated.
unless,
Well, you're gonna have changes.
right, we're gonna have changes, and I can tell you right now, Ott would like to get on the list to buy an ambulance, and we did not budget for that. I think I put that in my staff report. So we will have to increase the appropriations in order to do that.
In what years you want to buy this?
He wants it at the next meeting, so, but if you order it now, I suspect it's probably not gonna be here for 18 to 24 months.
Okay.
It's one of those,
And so that's why he wants it.
yeah.
Well, that's a big bunch of change.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So just keep in mind that that's two big expenses in 2024. So
Okay.
between an ambulance and a fire truck, it's probably gonna be close to $1 million that we're rewriting.
Okay.
So can we push one out 1 year?
Well,
and
we
then-
did push it out, but he surprised me this past week and said, I really want this on the agenda, and I'm like,
Okay.
Okay,
so
We'll see.
that's up to you.
okay.
And quick question on item A, the camera at Blong. So did that just conk out or what?
It did, we had, I guess what happened was, is we were having issues with it, where it would stop working, and then it would work, and then it had lots of interference, and they thought maybe it was Duke Energy that was interfering with it, but it ended up just being the camera was broken.
Okay.
So they ended up having to replace it, and I think what happened was, is last year when we ordered the Seven Gables camera and the Camp Dennison camera, the camera company went ahead and ordered the Blong camera, and I did not get any of the paperwork. So it got replaced, and then when the bill came, I was like, what's this? So, anyway.
Okay.
Okay. How old was that? Do you know?
It was here before I started
Yeah,
working
it's
here.
been a while.
So it's at least 5 years, 6 years old.
Okay.
Can I ask a general question about cameras and so on? Is there any thought given to consistent pieces of equipment, consistent connections, so on and so forth? We've got different kind of camera here, we got one internet service there, and I mean, when we see the bills come in, they're different bills from different locations and so on, and I kind of ask why.
It's what is available.
Okay.
So at the safety center, I can tell you that Alta Fiber is not available at the safety center, so we have no choice but to use Spectrum at that
Okay.
location. Same for the Blong.
Okay.
Spectrum is not, or I'm sorry, Alta Fiber is not available. There's no fiber line that goes in that direction, so we have no choice but to use Spectrum.
Okay,
Those are the only two locations.
okay,
Everything else is served by
That's-
either Alta Fiber or Cincinnati Bell.
okay.
Oh.
That is a very, very clear understanding, and I understand now.
Because we tried to switch
I
it.
had no
but
idea why we were using one provider in one
It's-
area and
it's
a
not
different one in
available.
someone else.
They would have to run a trunk line for us to the
Okay.
safety service center, which would cost an exorbitant amount of money, and it's just easier just to use Spectrum.
I guess I'm a little surprised because we do have fiber.
We have phones.
We have fiber all the way up Montgomery Road and so on, so. It's just a question of it didn't come down Belong to get close to the safety service center.
I guess. It's kind of odd.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Good here. Roll call, please.
Mr. Beck,
Aye.
Ms. Lees,
Aye.
Mr. Bryan.
Aye.
So before I go to the next item, was there a particular item you wanted to speak to, Ann? or-
I was going to comment, I didn't know.
I'm sorry, did we already gloss over it?
The Trustee
Yes,
Oh, go ahead.
issue.
yes. Do you want to feel free, just come up, state your name and address, and
Absolutely.
let us have it. We'll make this hearing from residents.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Beth Weber, I'm the treasurer of the Sycamore Community Schools. And I
Yes.
was just here to comment briefly about the McCluskey Chevrolet CRA. As you're aware, Symmes Township doesn't often provide these kinds of tax abatement or tax incentive kinds of deals. I think I've talked with Kim and said, I think this is a good development. I think it's a significant development for Symmes Township. I think it's just important whenever we enter into these types of agreements that we continue to talk about them past the time at which they're initially approved, that we continue to get frequent updates on them just to see how they're progressing, that they're meeting the requirements of those agreements. I know you do some of those things through Hamilton County itself, through their ongoing or annual reports. But I do think that since it sounds like this is kind of a phased agreement or phased project, just continuing to have those discussions with the school district, I think, is really important. So that's really all I came to say. I was actually hoping that a representative from McCluskey might be here this evening, because I think that would be a good contact for the district to have from just an ongoing partnership with and community development. So if that's something that you could follow up on to just maybe help us with that introduction, I think that would be excellent. So again, I think it's a good development knowing that that JCPenney store has been empty for quite some time and is not likely to be able to find a new tenant. Ongoing discussion, keep us apprised of the progress, and ongoing revenue that will come in, I think, in addition from that might not have. And if there's anything that you could do to just help us make that contact with McCluskey, I think that would be great.
Be happy to. Yeah, Kim, do you want to make that contact, or do you want me to, or?
I can,
Okay,
I can get with Beth.
okay, perfect. Okay, good. Sorry to make you sit
I
through
would-
the whole meeting.
I'd like to say a couple of things to Beth. First off, on the McCluskey development, when we were starting down this road of him coming over here, buying properties and so on, he was tasked really with trying to locate all the existing business in that strip mall in Symmes Township. Okay? So we were trying not to lose any businesses and so on. And he's worked very hard to try and do that. As a matter of fact, there was a hobby store that was located in that strip mall, and they have now moved over onto Montgomery Road in another strip plaza, and their business has tripled. And
Nice.
they are very happy about that move. So I'm hopeful that he can work out the deal with the other 3, 4 stores that are still open. I'm not sure what their lease arrangements are and so on and so forth, but I know he's been working hard to try and accommodate that. I'd also like to say that Sycamore Schools has been very good working with Symmes Township in the past on our, the TIF funding and those kinds of things, and we welcome that open relationship with Sycamore Schools, and you in particular, Beth. So thank you.
Okay, well, I don't know that you know I'm retiring July 31st, so
I just
you're going to
just
have
found that
to
out.
get to
I know
know
that.
the next person.
Isn't that always the case? Just about the time you establish a rapport with
Yeah.
someone.
Well, it only took you 24 years, Ken, so,
Well, not for me.
no, I think we've had a good relationship, and I have appreciated your representation on our community roundtable. I think that's really important.
Yes.
So just, continuing having conversations, I think that's always a way for us to work together to make sure our communities, really grow together as
Right.
well. So thank you. Thank you for the time and giving me an opportunity to speak, and we can just have that follow-up on this couple things, that'd be great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for
All
your
right, thank
support
you.
at the annual
It's always
county meeting
fascinating
as
to
well.
see
Happy.
other local governments at work.
I'm
Yes.
happy for you planning your retirement, but I'm kind of sad to see you go. So,
It'll all be good.
okay.
Well,
Thank you, Beth.
congratulations.
Congratulations. All right, moving on, last item. I move, go into executive session per ORC section 121-.22 G1, to consider the compensation and employment of a public employee or official.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Lees,
Aye.
Mr. Bryant,
Aye.
Mr. Beck.
Aye. And Kim, will there be action after executive session? Nope. So, good to go.